You on Wicked?
Me? Hey, what's this from? Something in my youth or childhood.
It's an honor to be speaking with you both today.
Thank you.
And
It's a greater honor for us.
and about one of my favorite stories of all time, Wicked. I've been a fan since I was 8 years old.
Really?
Did you see it like over the years, like when you were 8, and then when you were a teenager, and then when?
Yeah, I did. I actually saw Idina Menzel's last performance.
Oh wow!
When she broke her ribs. So it was a very memorable show.
I didn't know that. What
She broke
what
her rib
happened?
during the show.
During the show,
Last
the
performance.
trap door opened too early and she fell.
Holy!
And it was all when it was behind the screen, so it was all in silhouette.
And then what happened? Did she
Intense.
finish the show?
No, her understudy came out, and
She
then she
can't
came
if
out
she
at the end
broke
in
a
a
rib.
tracksuit.
I guess
That's
so. I guess so.
impossible.
She's a world-class athlete, of course.
Yeah.
Really? Did you ever have an injury? You've had injuries.
Unfortunately, yes. Yeah.
You have?
Yeah.
Well, you've done stunts that are death-defying. How could you do it?
Because you're a little crazy. You have to be a little crazy.
For the movie, obviously the production took years, so I want you to go back to your early days on set. Do you remember your first day on set?
I remember very clearly because I was blown away. I'd gone on set to show John Chu one of my costumes, and it was the set of the forest, a huge forest, and I did not expect the details that went into the moss, the roots, the giant trees, and then suddenly someone was singing without music.
Was it me?
It was Cynthia.
Someone told me lately, everyone deserves a chance to fly.
Has that ever happened in a movie before? Live singing while you go around like that?
And then someone said, she's only warming up. She's not even singing yet. So I remember very clearly the first day I was on set.
That enchanted forest. I love a forest.
Oh my
I love
God, it was so beautiful.
Ariana Grande,
The great
fabulous,
Ariana Grande.
the great, shared that the thing that she really needed to feel like Glinda or Galinda was her shoes.
Well, her shoes.
Her
She
shoes,
ran
to
around
really
in those
feel
shoes
it.
all the time.
What did each of you need to feel like Madame Marble and the Wizard?
Mine was the wig, my hair.
Really?
Yeah, between Francis and Sarah, who sculpted the wig, because we had so many notes. It cannot look like Marie Antoinette, you know? Then it cannot look like a geisha, and it cannot look modern, where it's just a coif. It has to reflect her character, and she has magic that conjures up the weather. So if you look at the hair, it sort of flows. There's no curls, right? I didn't want to look like Shirley Temple, not that I would, but it had to have that movement. So she literally, Sarah would, even with some wire and things, just to make it flow like that. It was amazing. So I think, apart from my amazing costume, thanks to Paul, it's the hair and the clothes.
Isn't that interesting? Paul Tazwell,
Oh.
beautiful guy, and Francis Hannon, who did the hair. Well, the shoes, yes, because they made those shoes. Those were
Everything was
custom-made shoes, and I wanted them sooner than later so I could practice all my dancing in the shoes.
And you gotta give the people what they want.
I've said to my wife, I don't want to do any job where your feet hurt,
Oh.
or you. And she said, oh, no, you don't know what it's like to be a dancer. She was in the Olympics, my wife. She was a rhythmic gymnast. She goes, oh, no, I don't really feel like I'm working until my feet are bleeding.
That's like a ballerina as well,
Yes,
you know?
yes.
They put on their point shoes, and when you take it off, it's bleeding. That means you're working hard.
How about that? You know about where we should have a seminar with Michelle Yeoh about work ethic, because it's one of the things I admire most in anybody. And I'm trying to teach my boys, they're playing piano and this and that. Work ethic and discipline.
Discipline,
It's so beautiful.
I agree with you.
Yeah.
Well, one of those working days on set, I'm curious, for the line when you...
Oh,
Listen.
everybody loves.
Hey, I told you about that. You noticed that too. It is striking.
I was taken aback. It was so powerful. Can you take me through filming that? Jeff, were you there that day?
I was there. It happened on that day. I wasn't doing a scene, but I said, I'm going to hang around. I just want to see Michelle work. And she did that. You got to be kidding. Oh, I was glad I was there for that. I was there. I saw that.
See, that is where John is really clever, and he says, "I want you to go in there and take charge of the room." How would you do that? You know, and they are with the flying monkeys, like, and they're all over the place. So how do you call to their attention? You can't go, "Oi!" Right? And I figured, like, what is the most powerful way to do it?
So you came up with that line
Yeah.
then.
You invented that.
Wow.
Yeah, it was just a move, you know, but it just came at the right time, but he shot it like that.
Wow.
I'm crying. I'm choked up at the beauty of craft and invention. Hearing that is moving to me. It really is. It really is.
Yeah, it's amazing. Quite a few people have come up to me and they said it's such an iconic move. I'm like, what? I just clapped my hand.
Oh, I don't think there's no just about it. Wait till you see that. You're gonna go crazy. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, I guess you never know
Yeah.
what's going to resonate with audiences.
Yeah, I think that's what it is. I think what it was like in that chaos, it's someone going, "Listen to me," right?
Isn't that interesting? And that's, of course, the acting craft, which you're a master of really doing something. My teacher, Sandy Meisner, said acting is the reality of doing under imaginary circumstances. So if you're trying to, a verb, in this case, focus the attention of the room, you really do that, even though it's made up and you're made up, but you're really doing that. Oh, boy.
Well, thank you both so much. The movie was so special, and maybe one of my favorite of all time. Do you remember your first time singing together?
I think I do. I think we were in like a rehearsal space, me and you specifically.
Yeah.
For the Asda's ballroom, and I remember just like being so nervy in general, and just so like. This is I'm singing with a Broadway person. This is wild.
You know what I remember? It really like cut the tension pretty quickly for us to be singing in funny voices
Yeah, I mean,
while rehearsing the dance.
well, also when we were actually singing, I think it was good to establish the safe space ahead of time, because it is a little bit vulnerable,
Yeah.
singing in front of one another. At least I felt vulnerability there, but because the whole cast themselves were just so welcoming, and then John, of course, created such a loving and kind space. I think that held space for us to feel fully comfortable.
And you can see that on screen. Like, it just seems like everyone really genuinely loved each other. So I was 8 when Wicked came out, and I used to listen to the soundtrack on my Walkman in the back of my parents' car, and I would write down the lyrics in like a special spiral bound notebook.
Oh.
That's so
And
sweet.
I probably wrote down Dancing Through Life like 800 times. So I'm curious, before you were cast in all this and this whole journey started, what was that song for you on the Wicked soundtrack?
For me, it was Dancing Through Life, because I had been hard at work on my Norbert Leo Butz impression, and this was a really good jumping off point for me. And I remember singing it. Oh yeah, I love that song.
For me, I think it was probably Popular, just because it really is such a bop. Like you can't help, and I feel like that's the one, besides Defying Gravity, that just everybody in general has heard of before. Yeah. And it's very much an earworm, for sure. It's so catchy.
One of my favorites that's not included on the original Broadway soundtrack,
Big moment.
that is the perfect question to ask for both of your characters, is The Wicked Witch of the East. Mm-hmm. Is there anything you can tease for me or for the general audience?
I think people are going to love the journey and be surprised by the journey that we both go on from 1 to 2.
Marissa, this is obviously like your first major role. Congratulations.
Thank you.
What's been the craziest, yes, claps for
Yeah.
that. What's been the craziest or most surreal thing that you've seen your face on since this started?
Oh my gosh.
I just showed you one.
Which one?
The turnstiles.
Oh yeah, in New York subway.
Yeah.
New York subway. There's like, I don't know why I'm doing this crab thing. It just kind of happened.
Where is it?
Tactical, I
Is it
don't
New
know.
York City?
Yeah, New York City. The turnstiles to get into the train, right?
Yeah.
All of our faces are on like the thingies. I'm so bad with words. I'm trying my best. But also the Barbie in general, that
Oh,
was
yeah.
pretty wild. I mean, New York Turnstiles
No,
are
no,
also
no, no.
pretty
Barbie's
sick.
good. You're right. You should have started there.
But yes, both of them. My answer is both.
Well, Ethan, you've talked about how some of your most embarrassing moments on stage are what kind of push you to keep going and push you forward, like dangling from a wire in your first previews for SpongeBob the Musical. Were there any moments on the Wicked set that maybe were like fumbles or embarrassing that led to some more beautiful moments?
I do feel like I was just like stumbling over myself and like getting myself like embarrassed in front of people that I look up to all the time, which is like a really fruitful thing when you're playing a character like Buck.
Yeah,
You know?
it definitely comes in handy.
I was really intent on climbing the ladder wheel in the library, and I did get to do it and do a little bit, but I really wanted to do a lot more. And I was like, guys, watch, I promise you I can do this. I like tried it, and I fell, and the entire stunt team, like 20 people, like stormed in to be like, you okay? So that was a really absolutely humiliating moment, and I was okay.
You were okay.
I was okay,
It's a silly little moment.
yeah.
Obviously, to love something like Wicked or just anything as a fan is very different than to live it and for it to be your job. What's something for each of you about Wicked that you feel differently about now or appreciate in a different sense than you did from before this all started?
There's so many good themes within Wicked, but I think one of the ones that I really love is just standing strong in what you believe in, speaking up for yourself, and speaking up for others as well, and standing strong in that, and really, really holding your own, and just being brave about it too, because a lot of the time it does take braveness to speak up for yourself and others, especially when there's not necessarily other people around you that necessarily fully agree or that you feel like will stand behind you no matter what.
Yeah. I think that's beautiful. And I also think that like living it in this way, you really get to see that how each character is like a manifestation of that sort of idea that the thing that people don't necessarily get about us doesn't mean that we should shy away from it. We should still maybe embrace it, and people will meet you where you are. There's something I think really beautiful about each of our journeys to either self-acceptance or the opposite, and how that journey can end up defining who we are in ways that we may or may not want.
Yeah, well, there's a lot to learn from Wicked. Like I said, it's one of my favorite stories, and just thank you both for bringing it to the screen. It was really my favorite movie of the year, maybe my life. I don't know. So
Thanks.
thank you both so much.
Thank
Thank
you.
you.